Glad to see this many people here. This is the Tuesday Talk, and before we get started, we have a couple of announcements. Eleanor Finn.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm one of the residents on the Employees Gift Fund committee. And we have just so many wonderful people working for us here, making us feel that this is such a great place to live. Just the other day, I was walking toward the lobby, a night walker, and carrying this big cardboard box that I had flattened and I wanted to recycle. When this aide came up to me and she said, "Let me take this for you. I can see you're having a struggling time." So she took it from me. Now, I feel a thank you just isn't enough for people like doing things like that for us. So I am just glad that we have this box that we can put our money in so that we can have a great party for them in December. I hope that
if you're going to talk, would you be a little louder, please?
I hope that you'd be able to come at some time to go to the employee, the party that we have in December, to see how happy these employees are to get our gift. I can remember one year, she was almost in tears and she says, now I can buy 4 new tires for my car. She was so thankful. But I know a lot of them are looking forward to their nice check so that they can buy gifts for their family for Christmas. So I hope you all can remember to donate to the Employees Gift Fund.
Don Infante has something he wants to say.
Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Today is Regency Oaks Veterans Association. Right here, 2 o'clock this afternoon.
What's happening?
Regency Oaks Veterans Association, ROVA. Regency Oaks Veterans Association, ROVA. Right here, 2 o'clock. We have a great guest speaker, Major General Earl Peck, who is a resident, and we're going to have a great program. So I ask you all to take some time and come on back here at 2 p.m. this afternoon. See you there. Thank you.
I think most of you know that I am Judy Studebaker. I am the Vice President of your RORO board. And some of you will have heard this spiel last Friday, but not all of you were here. So I'm going to say it again. When I heard about the bullying, I was appalled, I was amazed, and I was angry. I was appalled that it would be so rude from some of our residents as to boo. That just isn't acceptable. We live in an adult community and we should respect each other, we should respect ourselves, and we definitely should respect our dining team who works so hard to make us have a pleasant dining experience. I was amazed because I was so surprised, and I was angry because I thought it was so rude and not respectful. Please have respect for yourself, your fellow residents, and your staff. Thank you. And now I'll turn it over to Brent.
All right, thank you, Judy. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. I have just a couple of slides to talk about an update with COVID. So first slide, maybe, thank you. So here's the COVID situation this past week here in the state of Florida. Week before last, we were at 17.2 as the positivity rate. You can see that that has jumped to about 19.4, and pretty significant increase in the number of new cases. The death rate, the fatalities, is pretty much right on. That we haven't seen any movement there. Continue to see a large percentage of the population here in Florida who are vaccinated, 74% overall. The seniors over the age of 65, we're all the way up at 94%. That mirrors what is happening at Regency Oaks. Our second booster rate is still considerably lower than what the state average is. And we just don't know if there are people who have gotten it and haven't shared that with us. But we're sitting down at around 80%. So we're a little shy on that second booster. So let me encourage you, if you have gotten the booster, did not get it at Regency Oaks, but got it elsewhere, please let us know so that we can continue to monitor that participation level. Next slide. So as you know, we've had a big of a COVID outbreak in primarily our South building and over in the skilled nursing center. Look what happened in a little 4-day period. On June 29th, we had 47 cases. On the 30th, it had jumped to 58. And on July 1st, we had 63 residents and staff members who had COVID. And so when we talk about how this spreads and how contagious it is, and it's the most contagious of any of the variants that we've seen so far, here's a really great example. Now, just to put that in perspective, the positivity rate in Pinellas County is just a little shy of the state. We're running at about just under 19%. The positivity rate here at Regency Oaks, if you look at staff and residents who have had or have COVID during this period since June 29th, our positivity rate is only 4%. So we are below, and that's good, but we are below the 5%, which is that's the number that would require us to start wearing masks and restricting access. And so today, here's the good news, we're at 24 cases. And so what we've seen is it spiked and it's now worked its way through the system. We think that we have it contained, and we everybody knock on wood, but I think we're on the downhill side of this. So the numbers are looking good. We're not recommending any changes at this point. We are encouraging you to continue to practice good social distancing, wear your mask if appropriate, and if you are ill or have symptoms, self-isolate and let somebody know. Those are the secrets to making sure that we get on top of this COVID outbreak. Okay, so what we're going to do today, I have the entire dining staff here. As you know, we kicked off the new changes to our dining program on July 1st. We are in a 90-day trial period. This is day 10. And so we wanted to take a pulse reading. One of the things that we committed to do is to take your feedback and help us evaluate where we are and where we're going. And so this is the first of those sessions. I want to break it down into 3 thoughts. What we should continue doing, what's working well, what should we continue doing, what should we start doing? Is there something that we've missed that you think would be an enhancement over the changes we've made? And then finally, what should we stop doing? As we get to look at the breakdown, next slide. There are 3 general topics that I think we ought to attack. And the first is reservations. The second is the dining room experience. And then the third is how do we get more people back to the dining rooms? We continue to have a large percentage of your friends and neighbors who are just not coming to the dining rooms. So, you ready to get started? All right, we're going to tackle reservations first. This is really informal. I've got people passing mics. And let's go back one slide and post for 3 questions. Okay, what should we continue doing? What's working well? Well, we're on reservations, so let's talk. That's our first topic. So let's talk about the reservation system. What's working well with that? Judy?
We were gone for about 9 days when all of the reservations started, and so we were somewhat late in starting up with it. We've been working it now for 3 days, and it's working great.
Thank you, Jim.
I do it on our computer because my phone is too small and I can't get it on my Kindle. My son-in-law came over, and there is a way that he put up a little thing through the browser where all I have to do is click on that one little thing and it comes right up. I don't know how to do it, but I'm sure some of you do.
It's pinned to your taskbar.
No, it won't go on my taskbar, it's up top. My taskbar.
So one of the questions that I've heard asked, and I had to go ask it of Dustin yesterday, and a resident was sharing why I wanted to make a Sunday reservation. I went in, it was really easy to do, but I wanted to make it for every Sunday in the month of July. And in order to do that, I had to back out and start over every single time. And so I asked Dustin specifically, is that the way it works, or is there a shortcut?
So with the parameters, you do have to do it for each day. So you're gonna have to start from square one.
Okay, yeah, we got to get everyone on a mic, or none of this will pick up. You're talking to this.
So, with all the parameters for each day, you do need to start from square one. So, let's say Tuesday is heavily reserved, but Wednesday isn't. If we try to put a blanket for across the whole week, it might overseat Tuesday, but then the rest of the week might be fine. So, unfortunately, for each day, you do have to start with what day, what time, how many people, the different parameters. So, you will have to do that for each day.
So really what you're saying is, say we have on Sunday, who's made reservations in the room? That's a pretty good number. Thank you very much. Now, we've noticed that each day is separate, but on top of that, each time frame is separate. So, say Sunday morning is going to be a different bracket or a completely different duration, yeah. So, whereas we will have, when you open it up, it's North Dining Room lunch, North Dining Room dinner, South Dining Room dinner. And then as well, we also now have gourmet.
Gourmet will be up there when we have wine pairing currently up in there. We added the pub reservations yesterday, and then when we add more dates for the gourmet, those will go on the system as well.
I'd like to thank Phil publicly for answering my emails, because I've been computer challenged. I appreciate the response. Thank you.
Thank you. Mitch, just to let you know, I usually refer to him and then reply.
All right, so what I've noticed in the kitchen that I really didn't expect is since we've been doing the reservations, what has happened is at a certain point, say 5:15 to 5:45 to 6 o'clock, there would be a line of tickets all the way up there, and it was just a mad dash to try to get them all out because everybody's gonna come in and eat at the same time. I can't tell you, at any given time, there's only been about 4, 5, maybe 6 tickets up. The kitchen is quiet, it's completely organized, and they can focus on the quality and the presentation so much better for you. And the cooks are very happy.
And so that sort of begs the question, are you seeing improvements in the dining room in terms of the wait times and the quality of the meals and the presentation on the plate?
Yes.
Yes?
Question. I have had, with reservations, an issue with changing reservations, and I'm sure we probably all have that, of either increasing or decreasing. So I was wondering, could you guys show us how to make that work correctly?
As far as the process,
Sometimes it doesn't, and then you press continue after you edit, and it won't go back to, that you actually made the change. There's a certain time
People are
before.
dropping their voices as they get to the end, and we don't hear them. Ask them to continue with the same volume.
So I don't know, I just have a problem making it stick, and, is it a case where I should be calling in personally for this, or,
so he was asking about editing reservations. When we first debuted it, there was some parameters where a certain amount of residents or groups per time frame. So let's say if you were a group of 3, another couple joined you, you wanted to go to 5. If we only had 1 seat left in that time frame, it wouldn't let you adjust it. But if you came in and said, hey, we're now 5 instead of 3, we would have handled it just fine in the dining room. I've raised it a little bit, so it shouldn't interfere. I can raise it a little bit more. It'll still take that time frame off once we get to a certain amount of groups per time frame. But I'll add a little bit more, so hopefully, Bill, you won't come to that problem again. There was another thing I was going to talk about, but it has left. I'm sorry. I fit right in here.
We'll get another mic here for. Here, why don't you take the handheld mic and everyone can figure out how to.
I edited ours last night. I went from 6:15 to 6 o'clock, and from 2 to 4 people, and it worked just like a dream.
That would be you, Phil.
I'm not.
I think that's yours, John.
Oh. It could be. So what about, is there anything with the reservation system that we should stop doing that is just absolutely not working as designed? Any recommendations there?
I would like to know how many people are taking out as opposed to how many were taking out before reservations.
So we do have, that is one of the topics, that's our 3rd topic. So let's wait till we get there and we'll come back and address that. All right, anything else on reservations?
I'd just like to say that personally, I have not had any problem with the reservation system. I think it works beautifully and I can tell the difference in the dining room.
Good, good.
Could you hear her?
Yeah, she's loud.
Okay, so let's talk about the, you want anything?
I just say something about reservations.
Sure. We got a mic coming.
And I know I have to talk loud. Can you hear me? Yes. Keep it close. Okay. The reservation is just a nice place. And I'm hoping somebody is checking stuff if it's being taken out of the restaurant into the meal.
The point I wanted to add to that is, we had to stay in. For the first time, I've gone to sign up for takeout. And while I was sitting there, I watched a line of people come up and take big trays for their salads and fill them up about a mile high. And the first thing I thought is, the person possibly couldn't eat that much food. Certainly couldn't out-eat me. But I think we need to have some controls in place, because you guys are trying to cut down costs by managing the food going out the back door and the food that's coming in the front door. And just to add one little thing, Albert really spoke about cardboard. I've been walking up and down the hall, occasionally see people cardboard out on where the chutes are and get rid of them. And I've been bringing those back to the department whose name I found out for them to cut up their cardboard and bring it back. That's enough for them to have somebody on that. And you need to let us know, report things to when you see food abuse or other abuse.
Thank you. So the statement was, the last part, who should you report? And if you want to be a snitch, if you will. So really, if you do see something that really is out of place, whether it be here or really anywhere else in the world, please find somebody that would be, in charge. So if you see somebody shoplifting in Walmart, find somebody in a blue vest. If you see somebody, grabbing grapes and eating them in Publix, by all means walk up to the produce manager. I do as well. I feel as though I deserve 2 grapes every time I go to Publix. But at the same time, if you do see something that would definitely directly affect you in this property, please tell management. It's really that simple. And we all know who management is. I mean, you can lie to yourselves, but you know who management is. So, and then what was the other question?
Dining room experience, our own dining room experience.
It's going great.
So feedback on the dining room experience. How has that been impacted with all these changes?
Wonderful.
We got a mic coming your way.
I'm going to risk being labeled a bad guy. First of all, we have a new reservation system. We focused a lot on the culprits taking out too much from the salad bar. We run into the problem of people with computers, without computers, trying to make reservations. What would happen if we had a dining room manager monitoring the whole operation, seating people according to space, saying something to the person who's violating, greeting people, improving the whole tenor of the dining room experience? A good restaurant manager, go down the street here to Sunset Point Grill. Manager's out there greeting people. He's controlling it. If the salt shaker's out of place, he moves it. I think there are some advantages to be had by having one responsible adult, day in, day out, managing the dining room, observing the food. Yesterday, Dustin hauled out. We were in the north dining room and we were slow getting food out. Dustin hauled out our food to us. Somebody who's observing and following the established protocol of the system. Like I said, this is contrary to where we're going, but I think it's something that should be investigated. To have a dining room manager who can greet people, handle the problems that as they arise, monitor the takeouts, don't have to report them secretly and charge people for something that they don't know they're being charged for. All of those things are ill will creators. We need to develop a positive attitude in the dining room, and I think a manager, a good manager working the system would do that. Thank you.
I think they're doing it. I think it's, yeah, they're doing it.
I beg to differ with you a great deal. I think our dining room managers are doing exactly that. Everybody seems to be happy. Well, you're shaking your head. We're in the South. We've got excellent people who take care of us, and everyone is always stepping right up and doing, carrying trays, helping out in any way. Even the servers, you can see them helping out others. I don't think there's any problem there. I think the reservations are working fine. The one thing that I would like to address is the takeout. From the very first time you said you're not going to be able to take any food out, I knew that takeouts are going to increase because people want to have their leftover soup for lunch and they want to have a little bit more salad for something else, and who knows what they're doing with breakfast. But anyway, and I would like you to think about this, and not in 90 days, in 30 days, giving anyone who wants to take their leftover hamburger or whatever, just one of those little small salad containers. I mean, they can't stuff that with everything. So just a little container, and in that little container, you could put your half a sandwich, you could put your leftover soup or whatever you want to do with it. I think it would make a lot of people happier. I think they will stop taking takeouts because they want to have something left over for lunch, or they want to eat at their little times that they can't eat all at one time. So those are my considerations for you to address them sooner than 90 days. There's too much unrest to let it go that long.
Here's sort of the problem. And that on the surface is sounds reasonable. But here's the problem that we were encountering, and you know this, we were having a person who would say, well, I want a box for my leftover hamburger. Oh, and I need a container for my soup. I want to be able to take that as well. Oh, and I'd like another container because I ordered 5 sides instead of 2. And I'm going to take those sides with me. And so,
but everybody is saying just one small box.
Yeah.
However, the question was, how is this doing with the food in the dining room? I ordered an omelet the other night. My plate was very hot. My omelet had just come out of the skillet. It was wonderful.
But I think you should start doing is train your servers better, because last night we had 5:30 reservations. We couldn't get seated till 5:45, almost 5:50 basically. We could not see, the dining room was empty. We could not be seated. We were sitting in a hot waiting area. We couldn't sit at our table even though we had reservations. And the servers, you have 4 servers. So please try to get more servers and train them, at least get a training film so they know what they're doing. They're walking around, they're gazing out in the blue. They're good people, they're trying, but they have not been trained properly. Thank you.
I'll revoke that for the South, just like Johanna did.
So here's the thing. It is true that when you think about our situation with our servers, the vast majority of our servers have less than 8 months experience, because back at the end of December we had 3 servers. So they're all new. And so do they have the expertise that the group prior to them had, no, they're not there yet, but they're great kids. And we've done a really good job of selecting some quality people who we are grooming and developing. The servers do not grow as rapidly as a full-time associate. And so here's what happens. You take someone who has a full-time job, you plug them into a position, they're here every day, day in, day out, for weeks and weeks and weeks. They're working 40 hours a week. At the end of the month, they have 171 hours under their belt. Our servers, they work 2 hours a day and they maybe pick up 2 to 3 shifts per week. And so the learning curve is much larger. It's a longer period of time for servers because they're only working 8-9 hours a week. And so they don't get that level of experience that a full-time associate does as quickly. And so I'm excited about our servers. I think they've done a tremendous job of acclimating and learning the systems, and they're just going to get better. So we've got a great group of young kids who are really doing a good job.
You're cutting in and out.
I noticed that. We'll try it again. All right. What else? What should we stop doing? But and you know, just to reiterate this, you know, we've all noticed. Let's just be real honest. We've noticed that you know, there's a lot of angst amongst the residents. We notice that there are some attitude concerns that we have because we're going through a difficult time. And you look at all the changes that are impacting residents at Regency Oaks. We had COVID, we had the fire, we had massive changes in our dining services. We have the threat of inflation and significant rent increases that potentially could be here. And so I understand this is a time of uncertainty and difficulties, but here's what I continue to pledge. You'll be next. Here's what I continue to pledge. It's, as Judy said earlier, fighting amongst ourselves isn't going to make this easier. It's just going to complicate it. But we're going to keep the lines of communication open. We're going to sit here in front of you on a regular basis. We're going to take your feedback. We're going to consider it. And we're all going to work together to tweak this program to make for the best dining experience that is humanly possible. And I'm encouraged already because just 10 days in, you know, I'm already hearing reports directly from you that you've seen improvement in the times and the quality and the presentation. So there are some of the intended consequences are beginning to show, and so that's an encouraging first sign. This is not going to be our last meeting. We will continue to take your feedback and figure out how to best tweak this program so that it works for all of us.
Brent, the portal system seems to be working, and I'm just wondering what else is going to be added to it, or are there anything else going to be added to it to allow us to use the technology to improve our living situation?
So do you have any dining portal changes? I can talk broader, but I don't have any dining. Okay. So I think we've gone about as far as we are going with our dining services, but the portal does have many more capabilities. Probably the most significant one is the ability to directly communicate with a department director. And so at some point we will throw that switch where you'll be able to access the messaging feature of all of the department manager phones and have direct connect, so that if Darwin has a work order in and you haven't heard from him and it's something that's more important rather than less important, you can access him directly. And where Darwin is, his phone is, and that's one of the major advantages. Right now, Darwin is essentially unreachable. He's in an apartment on a apartment phone that's not tied to our system, and he has real limited capabilities. And the guy's never in his office. He's out taking care of problems. So we think that's going to be a big improvement in overall communication across the campus.
Thank you.
Okay. I would like to encourage you to plan the entertainment on Friday or Saturday night. You know, if we don't get down there before 7, I think it's very rude to walk in on a performer, you know, late. And so I would recommend that you continue at 7:30 instead of 7. Just that half hour, I think would connect.
People are late, they're late. It's their DNA.
Well, if people don't eat at 5 or 5:15, they can't get there. That's the problem.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other questions on the dining experience before we go to our last topic?
Are we off the dining?
No.
Are we off of the dining?
No, we're still on dining.
I have a question about the portal. The portal.
Go ahead.
No, not the dining, but the use of the, I have a question about the use of the work orders. So when we're finished with the.
Okay, perfect. All right, let's go to our third topic, and that is how do we get people back to the dining room? And so basically, pre-pandemic, we were doing 35 takeouts a night. We're averaging as high as 180 takeouts now. So it's a significant number. You know, we really want to focus on takeouts for a couple of reasons. One, it's a terrible presentation of our food. It's in a styrofoam container and it gets sloshed and whacked around as you take it back to your apartment. The food isn't served hot. You have to reheat it. As soon as you reheat it, it ruins the quality of the food. The presentation goes down the drain. And so it's not the way our food is shows best or is served best. That's in the dining room. The second thing is it deprives, think about this, it's almost half of our resident population that is isolated and not having the opportunity for socialization, which is a major concern for us. And so what we think what has happened is that people are still a little afraid of COVID and they've not gotten comfortable returning back to the dining rooms. We are always going to have a number of people on any given night who, for really good reasons, want to do a pickup, and we support those. There's a baseball game on at 7. I want to watch the game and just eat in front of the TV. I had a doctor's appointment and I didn't get back till late. I'm exhausted. I don't want to get dressed and go to the dining room. Let's just do takeout tonight. So there are great reasons for takeouts, but when you think about that, 35, 180, we're really outside the parameter. So what are your thoughts on what we can do to try to drive those numbers back down and try to it will improve our service in the dining room as well? What are your thoughts?
I'm coming, Mitch. Hold on.
All right, mics are coming.
As Brad said, the wonderful servers, they're great servers, but they're too few servers. You had 4 servers last night in the dining room. It takes an hour and a half to 2 hours to eat in the dining room. If you could speed up the service, get the servers a number of servers, the quality may be fantastic, but you need more numbers of servers to get the food out faster. Very simple.
Well, so let's think about that. I mean, Mitch, I understand your statement, but I don't think it's accurate. And so here are the numbers. So we did about 90 covers last night in the north, that's what we averaged. And we did it over a 3-hour period, 2.5-hour periods, something like that. And we had 4 servers. That means that each server has less than 3 tables at any given time. And our servers absolutely can handle 3 tables.
So why couldn't we get served?
And so reservations is critical to eliminating that backlog. And the sooner we can do that, the better off we're going to be. And Shep's already shared that he has seen a huge improvement in the tickets. Now, maybe you don't know what that means, but in the back of the house, at the line where the cooks are prepping and serving the meals for the expediter, there are tickets. And you'll remember I had a picture of Jimmy that I shared, and he had like 30 tickets hanging off of the printer that he had to do at one time. We're not seeing that. We're seeing 3 or 4 tickets instead of 30 tickets. And so if they're not overwhelmed, the evidence is indicating that this has been an improvement, that we're seeing improvement in reduction of plate to table times, and that we're seeing a reduction in wait times. So I think we're trending in the right direction.
We have one here.
Bradford Buffalo, please.
A rebuttal.
Yeah, I wish you'd said the dining room. We're sitting and waiting for our table. We finally got a table. A guy comes in after 10, 15 minutes, gets our order for soup. 10 minutes later, he comes in with soup. And we're waiting for our main course. A big tall gentleman comes in, the server, says, "May I help you with anything?" He says, "Yes, bring our main course." We never saw him again. Somebody else came in again. Then a third guy came in. We brought our main course in. And we said, "We have an iced tea." Never came back. So please, you have wonderful service, but you have not experienced what we're going through. Please get more service, teach them properly, and we'll be very happy.
Takes time.
Mitch, there's 2 things that we're gonna do. There is a company called Pineapple Express, and they have videos. So that's something that I had discussed with Brand. It's something that's an LCS that we can use here at Regency Oaks. Johnny can use them for his dishwashers. They're like 15-minute videos. You'll learn a little bit, then you take a test. If you don't get it right, they cut the video down a little bit so you can answer all the questions and pass the quiz. And then also for the next week, I'll get with the guys here and we'll personally monitor your table just as an example to make sure everything comes out all right. And we'll see what we're doing right and we'll see what we're doing wrong. Thank you.
Have you seen in this trial period, have you seen a reduction in the food now that since people can't take out? Take home.
They're still taking it out, Eleanor. I see it every day, every evening.
So Eleanor, it's such a short amount of time, it's such a short amount of time. Is this, can you hear me? What is this? It's such a short amount of time to make that evaluation. I'd really like to give it 30 days just to see that at that point, because I can't tell if in 1 week a truck has changed that much, but I can tell within 3 or 4 weeks based on the amount of food that we're actually having to buy. But I do notice that when I go into dry storage just on this since then, I am noticing, there's certain products that are still there that haven't been put out because we haven't had that demand for it. It does seem like there is a small percentage, but I'd rather give it a little bit more time.
So we haven't lost as many anchovies is what you're saying?
No, the anchovies are still on the shelf.
I really just want to relay what we've experienced. My husband and I are those people that you're speaking about who have been eating quite happily in our apartments for quite a while because of the crowding and because of many reasons that we choose to do that. When you made your plea a couple weeks ago that we come back, we decided to do so. But we have opted to go to lunch because I'm not crazy about reservations, it's just a personal thing. The lunch is lovely, it's quiet, I highly recommend it. However, it backs up what Mitch has said. On 2 occasions, we've never had this happen before, but we've been forgotten, both of us. We've been seated at a table, the person pours ice water, which is lovely, and then nothing. And yesterday, we were, maybe we're going at the wrong time. We go like around, I think it finishes at 1:30, and we arrived at 11:45. We were seated at noon, 1 o'clock. We go at 1:45. At 1 o'clock, we were seated, and we got our ice water. This is twice, 2 days in a row this is happening. So, it's very unusual. So we sat there, I thought, well, I'm gonna be polite, I'm sure someone will be coming. But there were no other people. There was one server down the way a bit, but it wasn't busy by any means. And so I finally got up and walked through to the front desk and said, I think we've been forgotten. And they said, oh. So we waited another 10 or 15 minutes. And we never really got our soda and the things that we asked for. So it sounds like a complaint, but it's really not. It's a comment that may back up why people are eating not in the dining room quite so much. But we do enjoy lunch. Thank you.
I know we've talked about this before because at least 5 or 6 years ago it was brought up in a big meeting. The possibility would exist that you could charge for carryout. You could allow so many free ones a month for the people that do the shopping, the doctor's appointment, that kind of thing, 1 or 2 a week, and then beyond that, possibly charge, not by individual container that they have, but just a blanket price that could discourage them from carrying out. It would at least help because I'm sure now you're faced with buying all of these extra containers for the people that do carry out, which, detracts from the money you could spend if you didn't have to give them all carry-outs. That's a possibility.
So, it's the carrot and stick approach. You've heard me talk about this for almost 7 months, trying to encourage residents to step forward and help us. I can institute a charge and stop it tomorrow. I'm trying not to do that. And that's why this got a topic all by itself. Our desire, for the reasons I stated, are to get as many people back to the dining room as possible and reduce the number of turnovers. But I don't want to have to go to a punishment mode. I want to try to elicit your cooperation, and that's why I'm specifically asking, what great ideas do you have to encourage people to come back to the dining room? Service.
In answer to Eleanor's question, you will not probably see a great deal of difference, of course not this quickly anyway, in the amount of food or salad bar, etc. But it hasn't stopped. I don't know what it's going to take to stop it. I sat there the other day and watched a person look around very carefully and make sure there was nobody watching, not a server, not a manager, and load half of a salad into an electric cart. Then a little bit later, the plastic bags came out. Whenever that person left the dining room, she had about 3 meals to go. I've seen it, other people with the plastic bags. It's still happening. I don't know what you have to do to stop it, but it's happening. And I did observe one person being told that if they took that out, they were going to be charged, which was the right thing to do, but only have I seen that happen one time. So, I don't know, but it's still going on.
People may be taking takeout because they want to keep some food for the lunch the next day. They might not be eating their own dinner. So when are you going to allow people to take the leftovers home?
Never.
That's exactly what we're trying to stop. It is, we've always been, for 32 years, we have been a meal of the day program. We have never been eat all you can buffet. And so we don't want you taking food home for you to eat for breakfast or lunch the next day. And literally, this has been going on since Dick was a baby. And I can remember 18 years ago, this was a problem because people would come down to the dining room and literally they would get a roll and a soup, which they would have for lunch the next day, and then they would take out a muffin and banana, which they would have for breakfast the next day. And that's not what we are. We are a one meal a day program, always have been. And independent living, one meal. We didn't invest in these huge apartments with full kitchens for you to heat up the food you took out of the dining room last night for breakfast and lunch. And so that is the change we are trying to impact. We want you to eat all you can eat in our dining room for your meal, but we don't want you taking food home for the next day.
Maybe you should stop ordering and making breakfast, and you do having breakfast.
So breakfast, so just a reminder, great question. So lunch and breakfast in the tavern will be available starting the 25th. Pubs, thank you. And the dinner service starts next Monday, the 18th. Yeah.
You know, okay, I'm just thinking with the salad bar and all that. What did I do now?
Yeah, you have to really slow.
With the salad bar, maybe a simple solution is a sign you put up there, and it just says, you know, if you take extra amount, we will charge you. Yes. And then, well, but there's no penalty. And, you know, we're watching something. But the other thing is that taking out, things from a staff standpoint, you come up, you take it, the staff brings it out from the kitchen, or the staff brings it out to the dining room. It seems that's an easy one. It's no increase in staff. But it seems to me it all comes down to the containers. So what you can do is have one container that can take out. But you know, don't just say we're.
So he raises a good point. You've probably heard me address this in the past, but it's the hidden impact of all these takeouts. Did you ever ask yourself the question, I wonder what the dining staff did before there were takeouts? Because, you know, you now know that instead of 35 meals to go, we're doing 180, and it's the dining staff who's doing that. What do you think they used to do prior to that? You think they were on break? But probably not. They were probably doing something that was valuable, and they were being paid to do it. What they were doing is doing the presets out in the dining room so that your service would go smoother and quicker. That's not happening anymore because all of our time is being consumed with these takeouts. And so when we thought about, one of the questions that I had not too long ago is, Brant, what in the world were you thinking when you and the dining team decided to do all of this at one time? Well, the reason is it all works together. I've got to reduce the abuse in the dining. I've got to stop the turnovers. I've got to get the staff refocused on what matters most. I've got to make sure residents are getting socialization and the ability to eat in the dining rooms. And all of this works in concerts with the reservation system. And so that's why we attacked it all at once, is because they're all interconnected. And we're not going to get to where we need to be if we're not addressing each of the elements that we've addressed in these changes. All right, any more feedback? I want you to let's have a homework assignment. We're going to continue to do this. We've gotten some valuable information. I truly appreciate the decorum and the positive feedback and the good ideas. But let's focus for our next meeting, and we aren't going to do this every Tuesday talk, but the next time we get together, if we can all make a commitment to come back with some ideas on how we can reduce turnovers, takeouts. That's the one area where we've seen no change whatsoever in numbers or behavior. All right.
Just one suggestion on the tongs. Is it possible to get a small spoon and a fork on the other instead of these spoons? Because people take spoons, they load up their spoonfuls like crazy. If you get tongs with spoon on one side and fork on the other, the portion will be considerably less than they can put into a container.
Well, the fact that you're not going to be able to take food out of the dining room and come in to eat, then you should be able to understand that the portion you're going to take is going to be considerably smaller.
I'm talking about people on takeout. They come in, they scoop out the big spoonfuls, they load up into the containers. If you have these smaller tongs, the spoon on one side, fork on the other, they limit the amount of food they can take per grabbing.
They just take more spoons.
They just take more scoops. I know.
I really think the abuse at the salad bar would be curbed if you had somebody, when the takeouts are being used, to have somebody at the salad bar. And while you have the takeouts, I don't see any problem with having somebody at the salad bar while people take their salad. Now, you have items on the salad bar that should have been taken off a long time ago. The hard-boiled eggs, for instance. People load up on that. To have tuna fish on there.
That's not on there. So the tuna fish, the ham salad, the chicken
Yes.
salad, that's no longer
Well,
on.
that's
It's
good.
always available
That's
inside,
good.
and I
But
understand.
you should have somebody monitoring it.
Yes. I agree.
While the takeouts are being done.
And that's something we'll definitely look into.
And I think that would curb a lot of,
I agree.
I mean, I have seen them use.
Yeah.
I don't use the salad bar because it's not sanitary.
Mhm.
People go on one side and then they reach over to go on the other side, which they shouldn't.
Mhm.
So you really should have somebody monitoring the salad bar.
Okay.
I think it would cut out a lot of excuse.
Yeah. Thank you.
If there are no other questions, thank you all for coming. And I want to remind you that you could go to the North Building for a leisurely lunch and come back here at 2 o'clock for Rover.